Reasons for teaching cursive. All right, here we go. Begins on the writing line, you know this. Serif, ends with a serif. Reduces reversals. And you don't have to worry about where you're going to begin. And again, the word boundaries are clearly formed, with the result that spelling becomes embedded more easily in the brain. By the time they get to college, if they can use decent cursive, they can take notes at the rate of about 100 words a minute. If they're down to print, you wouldn't believe it, it's down to about 30 words a minute. And there have been these studies, I don't know if you followed them. Harvard did a study where they divided students into two groups, and they had them listen to TED Talks. Half of them were given keyboards, and half of them were given the old-fashioned tools, pencils and papers and pens. And they were to take notes listening to TED Talks. And then the next day, they tested them on both comprehension and recall, and the difference was significant in favor of the students who'd taken notes by hand. So believe it or not, if you have a kid in college, you might suggest you're going to learn better if you take notes by hand, although everybody is pulling out their pads. I think part of it is if you're taking notes by hand, you're thinking, what is important? What do I need to write down? Because you can't write it all. And you're thinking more deeply about what you're listening to if you're taking notes by hand. European countries, cursive from the beginning. It doesn't interfere with learning to read print. My first experience was in South Africa, in what was then Rhodesia, southern Rhodesia, which is now Zimbabwe. And it was where I fell in love with teaching. I had a classroom of what they called the first form, and there were 5 and 6 little boys. And I taught them everything, big building away from the rest of the school. And I did everything all year. And that's when I discovered I never, ever wanted to do anything besides teach. But these kids had started out earlier on the farms. Rhodesia was largely a farming country, and they were spread out. The school, of course, was a boarding school, British tradition, boarding school by 5 or 6, and beautifully run. The point was, they came to school already knowing cursive, these 5 and 6-year-olds. And the quality of their cursive, I should have kept it, is about what we would expect from well-trained 4th graders. They absolutely had the cursive down. Did it interfere with their learning to read? No. You really don't need to teach capital cursive unless you want to. Capital cursive letters are very convoluted, and I think a lot of us print capitals in our personal handwriting anyway. So you really don't need to teach them, but if you do, do. Bridge letters, those 4 bridge letters, create endless problems. For instance, if I'm making an O, and then I want to make an R, I skip the bottom part of the R and I do that. If I want to write O, and then I want to put an M, I'm skipping this part, and I'm going down 1, 2, 3 times down. But I don't make this beginning thing the way I would if I was doing it in cursive. So the bridge letters are definitely much more difficult, and you have to plan on spending enough time. All the cursive books I have, I don't know if you have my cursive book, but a lot of it is devoted to bridge letters. If you begin with I and T and L and E, you get them right in the beginning. These were Mary and Richardson exercises. You can make patterns. Sometimes it's fun, so you can make this kind of a thing, and then you're going to do this. And then you can go like this, and like this, and like this, and like this. And then you go like this, and like this, and like this. We made a whole bunch of little flowers or little stars. So you can do it with loops like this. You can do that. So sort of fun making patterns and coloring them in. And you can do the same thing with the L things, of course, and go like that. So I didn't show all of these here, but those sort of preliminary things. And the point of the windshield wiper exercise, don't try to be neat and blank paper, of course. If you're doing, this is more elementary, but you can make them, let's make a snowman, you know, going with those spirals. You can do that. I'm in kindergarten, things like that, easy. Well, groups, same as with the other one. Tall upstroke, short upstroke, never lift the pencil, 2 o'clock letters, rather the same kind of thing. And you can use this line paper, but all this should be practiced blank. 2 o'clock, and then you go on. And of course, you're writing words. The bridge letter thing, B and R. R is awful, as I showed you, because it's missing most of itself. Candy cane letters. This is uppercase, a way of doing it. They begin like a candy cane. If you have my writing books, you've seen this. Candy cane. And then you have a little flag. And then you have A and O, which are separate. F and T, which are the same. And they need to be practiced in groups. D, and I always say D goes down, bunny tail, and then up. Only 4 of them start on the line. I won't ask you to name them, because you probably couldn't. G and S go up.
I and J.
And I and J. Yeah, well, G and S swing forward, I and J go that way. So only 4.
They're up there.
Yeah, only 4 of them. There are 4 of them where you don't go down. And they are dogs on planes, 2 very wet X-rays. That's my mnemonic for it. It doesn't take long to create huge improvement, not only in the writing, but in what they write. Now, this was June 29th, and this is
No, I love them. That's 2 things I like.
August the 3rd.
That's the same.
Same kid. Can you read this? Pretty hard, isn't it?
I run 40 meters. I am a runner during the.
This was
Why I like.
This was June 28th, and this is August the 5th.
That's incredible.
Did
How
you-
much time on writing, on cursive writing?
Well, what I do in tutoring, we get all the kids doing cursive automatically. And in the beginning, we're reviewing sounds, 6 kinds of syllables with older students, or 3 kinds of syllables, practicing the phonology, you know, CH, SH, T, all of those. And while we're doing that, we're focusing heavily on the handwriting. And then, as we get more advanced, we do it. But not bad. When I become a lieutenant, I'm going to join something, and the Navy is going to pay for my law school. I'm going to get married, have one child, and live in
Queen.
Queens. I can't wait for the future. I mean, quite incredible. And that writing skills for the adolescent has another couple ones. One of them is a 34-year-old man who was barely able to write 3 sentences. And again, about 6 weeks later, you couldn't stop him from expressing his ideas. So it impacts creativity.
Hi, I'm Harvey Hubble. You're watching Seedling.tv, nourishing mind, body, and planet. Subscribe now. It's good for you.